OpenAI have reportedly signed a $300 billion Project Stargate cloud deal with Oracle, one of the largest cloud computing deals ever, reports the Wall Street Journal. So I was just mentioning that Microsoft and OpenAI are going through a bit of a divorce. This is connected. Good morning, everybody. This is AI with Kyle. I'm going to be running through the daily AI news and updates. We have a number of things that have been happening. It's been quite a quiet week so far, but it looks like it is hotting up, and I actually have some stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about the increasing separation, divorce from Microsoft that OpenAI seem to be going through. Both of these companies are intertwined, and I'm actually going to talk about how that relationship works, or I'm going to try to, because it's extremely complicated. And then I'm going to talk about why it looks like they are moving in their own direction and what that means. I'm also going to talk about ChatGPT's non-advanced voice mode. What's it called? Just standard voice mode? I should know this. It is being given a stay of execution, so it's going to be hanging around. It's called standard voice mode. That is a very good name for it. So standard voice mode is not being axed yet, which I know will be a good news for a lot of you out there. So I'm going to talk about that. Also, VO3 is moving to vertical video, which is really cool. Anthropic, Claude can now do spreadsheets, and apparently it's very good. I have not tested it yet, but we're going to run through that. And then we're going to talk about the new richest man on earth, because it is no longer Elon Musk. And I'm sure Musk is feeling extremely upset about that right now. But yeah, various different things that we're going to talk about, and let's kick off. First one up is going to be the standard voice mode. Oh, I need to adjust this because it's ruined everything. So on YouTube, if you are on TikTok, the best place to see everything is going to be on YouTube. So definitely check us out there. I'm just readjusting my screen size because it got broken from my other stream, which I will be doing immediately after this, where I am building in public. I'm building a new application. I think I'm on day 9, and we are moving towards being able to send it out to beta testers, so you don't want to miss that, especially if you want to be one of the people who works on it. So here we go. Standard voice mode from ChatGPT has been given a stay of execution, which is fantastic news for the people who don't really like advanced voice mode, which is a lot of you. I know on Reddit and on Twitter there is a huge amount of uproar about the removal of standard voice mode and its replacement with advanced voice mode, and I get it. Advanced voice mode is a pain. It tries to be too human. It tries to be too much like having a conversation, and sometimes you just want to get stuff done. You don't want to have a long, protracted conversation with artificial intelligence. You basically want to give some instructions and get the answers back quickly. And with advanced voice mode in particular, with its human-like ums and ers and its little foibles, it feels very realistic and very human, but it's annoying to deal with. So a lot of people have said, no, we actually really like standard voice mode. Do you have to get rid of it? And ChatGPT, they are not AI yet, although ChatGPT is pretty much synonymous with artificial intelligence right now, but I misspoke. ChatGPT's creators, OpenAI, they have, for the last month or so, they've basically been replacing old versions with new versions. So we saw ChatGPT 5 totally replace 4.0 and all of the other models without thinking about the fact that maybe people still wanted to use those old models. And so we saw exactly the same thing happen with advanced voice mode. They said, hey, great news, everybody. You're all getting advanced voice mode. How exciting for you. But we're taking away your standard voice mode. And it looks like, because of the outcry, because of people saying, absolutely not, we really like standard voice mode, it's being given a stay of execution. So, specifically, Nick Turley, who, let's check out what he does, VP and head of the ChatGPT app, okay, so we can listen to what he's saying. Last month, we announced that everyone now has access to advanced voice mode, with usage limits expanded from minutes per day to hours for free users and near unlimited for Plus. As somebody who has Plus, I've never hit into any limits for advanced voice mode. I don't like it enough to use it for that. We also announced that standard voice mode would be retired after a 30-day sunset. We've heard feedback that standard mode is special to many, and we want to get this transition right. Standard voice mode will stay available while we address some of your feedback in advanced mode. Stay tuned, more improvements to advanced voice mode are coming. Yeah, so they are not saying standard voice mode will stay around forever. They're saying we are going to address and fix, hopefully, some of the issues with advanced voice mode so that you are less upset about standard voice mode being taken away. The top comment here, my top comment, is actually the thing that I find most annoying about advanced voice mode. There's a guy called Peter Yang. He's saying, make it so I can monologue for 10 minutes without it interrupting me. And then it'll write down everything I say in a cleaned up way. This is how I use voice mode. It's for when I am writing an article, when I've got ChatGPT to give me a list of questions and I'm basically running through them all in order to get ideas out of my head. I just like to be able to talk at the AI instead of talking to the AI. So what I've started to do is just record my voice and then input it in, because advanced voice mode will, because it's like a human, it doesn't like it when you just monologue at it, and that's fair for a human. So advanced voice mode will hop in and be like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. And you're just trying to deliver your thoughts and have them cleaned up by ChatGPT. Standard voice mode was much better at that. You can still do this in advanced voice mode. The way I do it personally is I say, I'm going to give you some information. Do not interrupt me. Do not stop me until I say the word. And I give it a word like over and out or over. And then it's allowed to interrupt me and continue with the processing. So that's one way to get it to work. But by default, it will interrupt you. It will chip in to your monologue as if you were having a conversation, which makes it quite annoying if you're just trying to deliver information. So if they can fix that for me, as somebody who likes to talk, as you can tell, that would probably bring it in line with standard voice mode. Interesting to see that they are still listening to feedback. So they had a rather disastrous launch about, when was it? A month ago? 3 weeks ago? The launch of GPT-5, where they got rid of all the old models, launched GPT-5. They gave everyone free access to advanced mode, voice mode, getting rid of the standard mode, etc., etc. Since then, they seem to have listened to the public. They've seemed to been swayed very much by public opinion. Whether or not that's a good thing or not, and whether we want them to have a bit more of a backbone and stick to their guns, depends whether you like these old models or not. Because some people were saying that GPT-5 is fine. Don't bend over for the people who want 4.0 just because they find it agreeable, just because they like talking to it. You need to push forward with the progress. That's what they were aiming at. It's like, we're going to make these models better and keep moving forward, but they didn't realize that there's going to be an attachment to these older models and to these older functions like standard voice mode. And now they seem to be bending over backwards to make sure everybody still has access to them. Whether or not it's a good thing depends on where you sit on their models, honestly. So good news for anyone who likes standard voice mode, and I think good news for anyone who uses ChatGPT, because they're going to look at advanced voice mode and make sure that it's working for everybody before they make it the only mode. So I think that's positive. Nate, have you heard about Claude Max's new breakthrough to analyze and work with spreadsheets? Yes, and in fact, I was about to cover that. So what I'll do is I'll pull that up now and we'll cover it first. So we'll just change the order. I have not used it yet. So this came out 2 days ago. I have not played around with it, so I need to do so. I'm actually on their Fire Ants program. So Anthropic work with a bunch of influencers, I don't like to call myself that, but they work with content creators on the new feature rollout, giving us access early. But this is not one that I have played with yet. So Claude can now do the tedious grunt work of creating files for you. Awesome, very cool. On Tuesday, so what are we now, Thursday, Anthropic shared a new feature for Claude where users can ask it to create Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoints, Word documents, and PDFs directly within the chat. The new capability is available as a preview for Claude Max, Team, and Enterprise subscribers. Okay, so I have that. So I need to go ahead and try that for you guys and get it on screen. I have Claude Max. Yes, I mix them up. I've got Max, whatever the $200 a month one is. Anthropic said it would be rolling out to Claude Pro users in the coming weeks. Awesome. So Claude's ability to create and edit files on the user's behalf is an example of agentic AI. I suppose so. A term that the industry is buzzing about, yeah. AI models with reasoning skills are able to break down multi-step tasks when connected to other apps and software that can accomplish tasks outside of their app restraints. Anthropic's new feature works by giving Claude access to private computer environment where it can write code and run programs to produce the files and analyses you need. Isn't it just creating a file for you? I need to mess around with it, but this is Mashable's coverage, but they're saying that it has access in order to write those files. I don't see why it would need to do that rather than just allow you to download it from Claude, but okay, I'll have a look at it shortly. Actually, what am I talking about? Let me just go ahead and do it. I have Plus. Let's see if, sorry, I have Max. Let's see if, okay, oops. Let's prepare an Excel sheet. What do we want to prepare it with? The latest AI news. Rank the news by virality. I want to export to Excel. Just as a random example, let's see what that does. I'll help you create an Excel sheet with the latest AI news. So it's going to search the web. I'm using Opus 4, by the way. Let me search for more specific recent viral events. Cool. Searching the web. Opus is their top model, Opus 4.1. If you are on the, I mix all the names up. So I'm on the Max. If you are on the Plus, you can use it. You have access to it, but it tends to be very limited. But on the Max plan, honestly, it is fairly unlimited. Now it seems to be creating, that's definitely HTML rather than Excel. So it's creating a comprehensive Excel sheet with the latest AI news ranked by virality, but it's doing it in HTML. So for me, do manage connectors. Okay, I need to look into it in detail. I'm not seeing how this works exactly. Claude, Excel. Claude can now create and edit files. Directly in Claude AI and the desktop app, this transforms how you work with Claude. Instead of only receiving text, it can... Oh, I think I need to connect it to my Google Drive, which is very confusing if they're calling it Excel, because Excel is specifically Microsoft. And it's okay, that's interesting. So they're saying, there's an example here. I want to surprise my wife with a trip to Italy. I have 6 months to save. Here's my recent finances. Help me create and plan and budget in Excel. Where can I save the money? And then I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone on YouTube, I'm pretty sure the image in the background is Google Sheets, not Excel. So I think it works with the Google ecosystem. Here we go. So settings, features, experimental. I need to turn it on. That's why it's not working. Settings, features. I thought I had this on. Oh, I need to turn on this one. Upgraded file creation. So allow Claude to execute code and create and edit docs, spreadsheets, presentations, PDF, and data results available on web and desktop. This feature gives Claude network access to create and analyze files, which has security risks. Okay, so it's creating, so we need to do that again, I think. So create an Excel spreadsheet with the latest AI news from the beginning of September 2025, analyze and rank by viral potential. There we go. So now I've given it access to create files. So let's see if it goes ahead and does that. Eric says, hey, nice layout. What streaming service or software is this? I am using Ecamm. I've tried a whole bunch of different things. Streamlab, for example. Streamlab can only do 1080p. It can't do 4K. I'm using Ecamm because it can do 4K, 60 frames per second, as long as your internet is fast. OBS is also great, but OBS is a lot more fiddly. And I love the tool, but good God, it goes wrong a lot. So I'm paying for Ecamm, which is like $20, $30 a month. It's not much. Okay, so Claude is going ahead and is doing that research. Just going to expand that out. There we go. Let's see if it can write into an Excel file. Also, we heard, I think it was yesterday, that Microsoft are bringing Claude into the Copilot ecosystem as well. So it's going to be used inside a PowerPoint. Claude is going to be generating PowerPoints because previously they've had ChatGPT sitting underneath Copilot 365 applications. And it hasn't been very good, honestly. Whenever I go and work with a Microsoft-enabled company, they all think AI is rubbish. And that's because they are using Copilot, which isn't very good. I'm going to talk briefly about what's going on with Microsoft and... Oh, it's doing it. What's going on with Microsoft and OpenAI, because it's messy. They are entangled in more ways than one in terms of investment, in terms of profit sharing, in terms of the technology and the product. So there's a lot of entanglement, but both of these companies are pushing away from each other. They are diversifying away. And one of these moves is Microsoft is going to be using Anthropic products, so Claude, inside of Microsoft Copilot, which is great. So it's building a Python script Oh, this is my fault. Okay, this is because I wanted it to analyze AI news and judge how viral it could be. So it is creating a little Python script. I'm just doing this as a toy. I haven't actually pushed into details of what I want to create. I just wanted to make an Excel file, so I might have overcomplicated this, but that's fine. I'll answer some questions while it's fiddling around. Hi, I'm sorry, I am new here. Are you using LLM? Yeah, right now I am using Claude Opus 4.1, which is an LLM. So yeah, I do use, and I talk about artificial intelligence, specifically how we can use AI for business and how we can start and grow businesses using AI. That tends to be my focus. But this show in particular is talking about the news and the updates, because I have lots of students, I have lots of people I talk to, and they find the fire hose of information when it comes to artificial intelligence absolutely overwhelming. And unfortunately, that makes a lot of people just shut down. Then I can't keep up with this. There's no way. And I think it's really important that we do keep up with what's going on. We don't need to know absolutely every model. We don't need to know absolutely every movement in the market, but it's useful to know the kind of broad shape of what's happening, because this is an important technology and it's an important force in society, and we need to not allow just to the engineers and just to the corporations to run this. We need to, as the public, know what's going on. Okay, so it is creating an Excel sheet. There we go. Yes, can you stop moving? There we go. Some formatted. So it has created an Excel sheet for me. I'm going to keep it in here because otherwise you won't be able to see it on my screen. Very nice. So that will go into my Google Drive. I don't know, is that actually Excel? What's the file type? Doesn't really matter. I'm just interested if that's Excel or a Google Sheet. Oh, it is. It's an XLSX. I've never said that out loud. It's an Excel sheet. Okay, cool. So that is a nice addition. I believe it can also create PowerPoints. Yes. Yep. So you can do things like upload a PDF document to get PowerPoint slides. That's really cool. This is great news. This is one of those kind of boring pieces of news that actually changes how we use AI on a daily basis. And Claude is fantastic. So I'm going to have to test it out. I will test it with see if it can make slides later. I worry a little bit about what the slides will look like. They will probably look like trash, but it can, I assume, get the information into the slides at least, and then I can rework them. Cool, very cool. I will do a longer video on that later about what exactly we can do with that, because I need to mess around with it. Because I have Claude Max, so I have access, and everyone else should be getting access in the next couple of weeks, apparently. So I will mess around with it. Oh, what is Oracle's valuation now? It's a lot. Let's talk about that. So, Oracle, who's a company you might not have heard of. They're a huge, huge company, but they're kind of from the old school of tech. So at the same time as like Microsoft and a little bit after IBM, but that kind of older 1970s. When was Oracle founded? Let's get up. And it's run now by Larry Ellison. It was founded in 1977. And there's Larry Ellison. A huge company, absolutely gigantic, and they're mostly in the enterprise world. So if you do anything with IT, you will know the name, but from a public point of view, you might not have heard them. So OpenAI have reportedly signed a $300 billion Project Stargate cloud deal with Oracle. So I was just mentioning that Microsoft and OpenAI are going through a bit of a divorce. This is connected. So OpenAI and Oracle have signed a deal to purchase $300 billion in computing power over roughly 5 years, one of the largest cloud computing deals ever, reports the Wall Street Journal. In July, the two companies revealed their partnership to build data centers worth, 4.5 gigawatts of power, and that's with SoftBank as well. And there was a picture of the three of them, so head of SoftBank, Larry Ellison, and Sam Altman, head of OpenAI, and President Trump, talking about this deal, talking about this data center. And now we know how much OpenAI is planning to pay. So OpenAI are going to be putting in $300 billion and purchasing computing power using that $300 billion. So OpenAI, which reportedly expects $12.7 billion in revenue this year, which is nowhere near the $300 billion they're going to be spending on the computing power, is also likely behind another $100 billion contract with the semiconductor giant Broadcom. So they are building their own chips as well. So ChatGPT, or OpenAI, excuse me, are going on a spending spree. They do not have their own cash. They're not generating much money. This is not unusual in software. It's not unusual in tech at all, but the amount they're spending is phenomenal. All of this is with the expectation that at some point they will generate money. So for example, Amazon was at a loss for I think 12 years before they turned a profit. So it's not unusual. And also remember that as long as you're not turning a profit, you don't pay any taxes. You only pay taxes on profits. So there's a good reason why you want to not make any money for at least a few years. The question is whether they'll be able to dig themselves out of this hole later on, and whether they'll be able to provide a return to investors for this, frankly, huge amounts of cash that are being spent right now. Because of this deal, the Project Stargate Cloud deal with Oracle, Larry Ellison is now the richest man on earth overnight. So the Oracle co-founder's wealth has soared to $394 billion, which is more than Musk. So Musk is at 383 billion. So it is, what's that, $8 billion more wealthy than Elon Musk. Elon Musk right now is typing away furiously on his iPhone, typing angry things about how Larry Ellison is a thief and a cheat. So Elon Musk can no longer claim the title of the world's richest man, at least for the time being. The net worth of Oracle CTO and co-founder Larry Ellison ballooned by 101 billion on Wednesday morning. Whew. That's a hell of a morning. Good job, Larry. Bringing his total fortune to 393 billion. Ellison's wealth now surpasses Musk, which sits at 385 billion. Musk first topped the list of the world's richest people in 2021, though he ended up losing the title to Amazon's Jeff Bezos and Bernard Arnault, the CEO of luxury brand LVMH. He slid back into the top slot last year and became the first person with a $400 billion net worth. Ellison's fortune soared after Oracle's latest earning report suggested that its cloud infrastructure business would rake in a whopping 144 billion over the next 4 years. Meanwhile, Musk may be on track to be the world's first trillionaire if Tesla's shareholders approve his exorbitant new pay package. Okay, so that will triple his wealth. Is that right? God, that's a lot. So notice the numbers here. It gets confusing when the numbers get this big. It's hard to keep track of them. So cloud infrastructure for Oracle, so this is what is helping to train and deliver AI services. It's like a utility almost. Would rake in 144 billion over the next 4 years. Compare that to what we just saw, which is OpenAI expects 12 billion in revenue this year. So they're very different levels of cash that are coming in. This is only 1 year, so 4 times this would be 50 billion, whereas Oracle are bringing in almost 3 times as much using their infrastructure. So the people who are making money are not necessarily the people who are building the models. It's not necessarily OpenAI. It is people who are building the chipsets, NVIDIA. They're the first company ever to hit 4 trillion valuation. People who are providing boring things in the background, like cloud infrastructure, it's almost a utility. They are making a huge amount of money off this. And this stuff tends to be a little more behind the scenes because people don't interact with it on a daily basis. We're interacting with ChatGPT, but we're not really thinking about the cloud infrastructure. We're not thinking about the GPUs behind it. These support companies that are supporting the AI revolution, they're the ones who are making absolute bank at the moment. So I'm not giving investment advice, but definitely look at the companies that are connected to the big public unicorns that we think of. Another really good example is, so Lovable, the Swedish company, are the fastest growing software company in human history. They hit $100 million annual recurring revenue in 9 months, which is the fastest a company's ever done that. They have an integration with another company, another Stockholm-based Swedish company actually, called Supabase. And you can connect your Lovable directly into Supabase with a couple of clicks. Because of that integration and because Lovable is growing so fast, the valuation of Supabase has also shot through the roof. Supabase is now worth a huge amount of money because it is a support piece of software for the big visible unicorn. So if you are investing, if you're looking for those kind of companies to get involved in, look at the stuff that's 1 layer or 2 layers behind, because that's where the really interesting things happen. They're not necessarily in the public spotlight, so it means you can find investments that will be undervalued. Again, not investment advice, but an interesting phenomenon, I would say. Nate says, apparently Claude isn't advertising this as much. Is this in reference to the Excel and PowerPoint creation. Honestly, Anthropic don't advertise very much at all. I don't know if it's a marketing strategy or they just don't want to spend the money on it, but when you look at their kind of brand recognition compared to ChatGPT, it's basically zero. Nobody's ever heard of Claude. Within our circles, people who talk about AI, people who are in the sphere, yeah, we know and we love Claude. Outside, in the public, nobody has any idea who Claude is. They actually did a billboard in Times Square. I forget what it was. Let me pull it up. Claude billboard. It was fine. Claude AI lights up Times Square. Here we go. It's just a picture of Claude, the icon. So this is somebody criticizing it. Claude really needs help with their branding. This is some of the worst ad copy I've ever seen. Claude by Anthropic, Claude.ai, and move your work up and to the Claude. Is that real? Up and to the Claude, as in up and to the cloud? Or up and to the right? Move your work up. It must be up and to the right, but Claude doesn't sound like up and to the right. It sounds like up and to the cloud. God, that is bad. It doesn't explain what the product is. It's not even clear that it's a product. Fully relies on insider knowledge of the AI space to make any sense. Most people don't know .ai is a domain extension. Weird copy with no personality, no emotional or practical impact. They should just directly compare with ChatGPT. Stuff like Claude is more useful than ChatGPT. Think ChatGPT is smart, try Claude. ChatGPT is good, Claude is better, etc. Yeah, okay, that is rubbish. Claude have not pushed their marketing very much. So if you talk to people outside of our spheres, outside of people who talk about AI, no one has any idea what Claude is. I'm a big evangelist. I'm always telling people, use Claude, try Claude. As soon as they do, a lot of people are like, oh, this is really good. Oh, this is better than ChatGPT. But to get them there takes a lot. And the the Anthropic marketing team, for whatever reason, are not doing a very good job of that. It might be a budget thing. It might not be their priority. Maybe they're going for B2B. But in the general public, no one has any idea who Claude is, or what Anthropic is. So I'm not surprised that nobody knows about the using files launch. Basically, Anthropic, will just drop a tweet saying, hey, we've got a new feature. And the people who are into AI, they'll go and check it out and be like, oh, that's cool. That's it. There's no external push of these features. So we've looked at Larry Ellison. We've looked at OpenAI. Let me hop over to the questions. Why is Claude better than ChatGPT or other models according to you? It's hard to say objectively which ones are best because it depends what you're using it for. Certain models are better at certain things. That said, Claude is a good all-rounder. It's very good at code. Claude Code or using Claude inside of Cursor, for example, and then also vibe coding apps like Lovable are built off the back of Claude. It's just a good model for coding. I also find Claude has a better written style. Personally, that's subjective though. So I tend to use Claude more for work. So whenever I'm coding, whenever I'm writing, whenever I'm thinking, I will use Claude. And then I use ChatGPT for more general daily tasks. So ChatGPT, because of its persistent memory in particular, has become my go-to for most daily tasks, personal tasks, and Claude is my more professional. Everybody uses them differently though, and it's up to you to work out which work for you best in certain situations. So it's not better, it's just the one that I prefer to use in certain situations. I thought it could look at spreadsheets from PowerPoints and develop spreadsheets from them. Nate says, yeah, it probably can. So what I'll do later is I will download my analytics from a social media, from maybe YouTube, for example. I'll download them, throw them into Claude, see what it can do in terms of analysis, and then recreating new spreadsheets off the back of it, maybe a report, a PowerPoint report, etc. I'll have a go with that later. I use Supabase to connect to Lovable. Yes, it was free. I couldn't do it with Zapier. Careful with the Supabase. It is free. You can have up to 2 projects on a free Supabase account. They call it the hobby account. If you start to get a lot of traffic, you will need to upgrade just because you'll run into the limitations. But for building and testing around, the free version of the hobby plan is absolutely fine. But do be aware that if you get a lot of traffic, if you get a lot of requests, you will need a $25 a month subscription just to keep those projects going. And then if you want to add more projects, it is $10 per month per project. So if you are building lots and lots of things, that bill will go up. That said, if they are projects that you're developing for your business and they're saving you money or they're making you money, then it's not a huge amount. I'm currently looking at building my own VPS, hosting my own VPS, so that I can move everything onto that to reduce my costs. But that's because I do lots of small toy projects which aren't going to make any money. So I just want a playground to host all of those things. But for most use cases, Supabase is perfectly fine. Claude is brilliant, says Gibbsy. Yeah, I really like it. Just go and use it. All of these models are free to try out. So if you ever have any doubt, like, oh, why should I use this over this one? Just go and try it. Give it a shot. And you'll know very quickly, oh, okay, this is really good. And then you can use it from there. Or if you don't like it, don't use it. Like there are plenty of them out there. What model we'd suggest for learning, research, and reasoning stuff? Depends what you are. Probably ChatGPT. The reason is, one, they have the learning mode called, I've forgotten what it's called. I should know this. Study and Learn. Study and Learn is really cool. You can emulate it by telling any AI, any large language model, don't give me the answers, act as a tutor. Talk to me as a tutor and help me to study. But ChatGPT has it built in, which is really cool. So that will basically kick the chatbot into a mode where it is going to help you to learn and help you to understand. So when you get something wrong, it's going to say, not quite, why do we think of it this way? So it's a really handy mode. The other thing is, ChatGPT has a persistent memory. So it remembers what you know and what you don't know, which is, when you're learning a new subject, extremely useful. So for this specific thing, learning research, or for learning, I would use ChatGPT, and I do use ChatGPT. For research, probably there is a deep research mode inside of ChatGPT. So if you're already using ChatGPT, that would be your first port of call. But I generally use Claude for my research, and also DeepSeek has a really good research mode as well, which is free if cost is a consideration here. And then reasoning is a really tough one. Again, I would try out the different models and see which gives you the best result for your particular field. I use Claude for this. It's not necessarily the best though. So try out a few different models with the specific question and see which gives you an answer which is closest to what you are looking for. Cool. I'm going to hop over to, right. Yeah, let's try it. Okay. Over the last few days, or the last few weeks, and it's going to continue, Microsoft and OpenAI are going through not a divorce, but I think a trial separation is probably more fair. They are two companies that are extremely intertwined ever since 2023, but they are starting to untangle, and they're starting to move in their own directions when it comes to artificial intelligence. And back in 2023, it made an awful lot of sense. OpenAI needed cash, and Microsoft wanted to get in on the ground floor with a highly advanced AI lab. So it made a lot of sense a couple of years ago. Now it's starting to unravel. But I think to understand how that's unraveling and why these news stories are important, so things like OpenAI signing a deal with Oracle instead of Microsoft for their cloud services, that's a big deal. Microsoft using Anthropic inside of Copilot instead of, or in addition to ChatGPT, that's a big deal. They are going in their own directions, but we need to understand how they're entangled to understand what changes are being made right now. So I've pulled up a couple of graphs. We'll start with this one, is probably useful. Gosh, it is complicated. It's really complicated from a legal and a technical point of view. So basically back in 2023, Microsoft invested about 13.75 billion into OpenAI. In exchange for that, they get to share in revenue. So it's a profit sharing agreement. So shares 20% of revenues and profits up to 92 billion. So it's not a simple, we own X percent of you. It is we're going to share in a certain amount of profits and revenue up to a certain cap. This is further complicated by the fact that OpenAI is not a for-profit company, but it's not a not-for-profit company. It is I need a company structure. They've come up with something very interesting, a partnership between, so they have a capped profit arm within their non-profit. OpenAI has a complex hybrid capped profit corporate structure overseen by a non-profit entity that directs the for-profit public benefit corporation, PPC, to pursue a mission of developing safe and broadly beneficial AI rather than pure profit maximization. The fact that it's so complicated tells me that they are up to something, and they're trying to move it to for profit at the moment. And they've been trying to do this for a while. And Elon Musk was quite rightly saying, no, hang on, your original mission was open source. It was making sure that this was for the public benefit. And now you are totally going against that. And the fact that their corporate structure is this spaghetti web of various different organizations, board of director, which controls the public charity, which is the non-profit, which wholly controls OpenAI GP LLC, which controls OpenAI Global LLC, which is a capped profit company in which Microsoft is a minority owner, etc., etc. The fact that it is so complicated tells me, yeah, they're being a bit shifty here. But because of this complicated organizational structure at the top, what we've got, though, at the end of the day is Microsoft and OpenAI 2 years ago were intertwined. So OpenAI runs and trains their models on Microsoft's cloud service, which is called Azure. So that is the foundation layer of everything. So at the bottom, there's Microsoft Azure, an AI supercomputer, basically. That's what OpenAI were using as their infrastructure, and they were paying Microsoft for the use of that, but they're locked in because of this deal. On top of that's what they use to build the large language models, so GPT-4, GPT-5, etc. These are the models. Microsoft then licenses those models to put inside of Copilot. So Copilot is built off the back of the GPT models. You can see why this gets very confusing. So GitHub Copilot, the Office Copilot 365 applications, etc. So what inside Excel are currently built off the back of GPT-5, but now they're introducing Anthropic as well. So it's like a sandwich where at the bottom you have Microsoft providing the computing power and the cloud services. That is now potentially moving over to Oracle, who is a competing business. Then you have in the middle, you have the models, the GPT models, who are developed by OpenAI. But then on top of that, you have the fact that Microsoft have put the GPT models into their Microsoft products. So you can see how it's all a bit incestuous and all tied together. I think this was a useful structure for them to get started, for OpenAI to get started, but now they are outgrowing that, and both of these companies are looking for ways to diversify. I don't think it's going to be an acrimonious split. I think they've got their heads screwed on. If this was with Elon Musk, then this would end in tears, but I think Microsoft and OpenAI will be able to beneficially separate this and go their own ways moving forward. So I just wanted to try and explain the absolute mess that is behind the scenes here. And as if you're looking at the screen right now, you can see the corporate structure is a nightmare. And then the way the products and the various products intertwine is also a bit of a nightmare. So whoever's untangling this, bravo, good luck to you. The lawyers are going to make a lot of money. Let's put it that way. You look more Cody Co than Cody Lowe. I don't know who Cody Co or Cody Lowe is. Yes, Mike, I'm sharing on the YouTube. This is where you can see the screen. I am working on reformatting an old MacBook to turn it into a PC, and then I'll be able to stream my desktop to TikTok, because you can only do that through a PC. It's incredibly complicated and it doesn't need to be. So you can't do it through a Macintosh, and everything I have is Mac based. So I'm reconfiguring one of them into a Windows PC, which is proving to be very annoying because I need to do it through Ubuntu. I need a Linux operating system first in order to flash the Windows ISO image onto a boot disk in order to install Windows, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot. So I've installed Linux on it first. And now I need to install Windows. Don't ask. It's my fun hobby every evening. A conscious uncoupling. I like that. Yeah, it's not a divorce. I think they both realize they need to stand on their own two legs. Microsoft in particular. So Microsoft have launched their first model called MAI, which I assume stands for Microsoft AI. It is doing okay on LM Arena. I believe let's have a look. It's about 25th on LM Arena. See if I can find it. 24th. Microsoft MAI 1 preview. So it hasn't been launched yet, but this is Microsoft moving in the direction of having their own models. So they are diversifying. They have the OpenAI models, so ChatGPT. They have signed a deal with Anthropic to bring in the Claude models, and they're building their own model at the same time. Extremely sensible. This is what they should be doing. So Microsoft are doing this sensibly. Apple are an example of a company who are maybe not doing this sensibly, and they don't seem to have a very strong AI strategy moving forward. Cool, covered that. Dunked on Anthropic's marketing. Sorry, Anthropic, I love you guys, but that was a terrible post. Oh, let's go back to Anthropic. So Anthropic are in the news a lot at the moment. This is probably good for them because at least people are knowing and hearing about the name Anthropic. So the judges have put on hold Anthropic's $1.5 billion piracy settlement. So we covered this it's the end of last week. So last week was a roller coaster for Anthropic, where at the beginning of the week they raised, I think it was $13 billion, and it raised their valuation to $183 billion, which made them bigger than Nike, it made them bigger than Disney, it made them into a giant company. By the end of the week, though, they'd just agreed to basically pay out 10% of that new investment. They agreed to pay $1.5 billion because of this piracy settlement. However, that has now looks like it's on hold. So a federal judge has raised concerns about the term of the settlements, which would give authors around $3,000 for each book Anthropic is accused of stealing. So this did not go to court. Anthropic settled it, and they said, okay, we will pay $3,000 per book, per author. Per book or per book? And apparently there were 50,000 books. 500,000. God, these billions and millions trip me up. There is a potential that there are not actually 500,000 books, but 7 million books. If that is the case, then this is going to be the mother of all payouts and Anthropic are dead in the water. I don't think that will be the case. It looks like it's settling on this 1.5 billion figure, but it looks like it's on hold. So Anthropic's $1.5 billion book piracy settlement has been put on pause after the federal judge overseeing the class action case raised concerns about the terms of the agreement. During a hearing this week, Judge William Alsup rejected the settlement over concerns that class action lawyers will create a deal behind closed doors that will force down the throats of authors. Okay. Anthropic agreed to pay, so he's protecting the authors. This was something actually raised last week when we first talked about it, because somebody said, oh, that's nice, the authors are going to get a payday of $3,000 each. And I was like, no, the people getting paid here are the lawyers. By the time it gets to authors, they're going to be getting a few $100s. This money is going to go through the lawyers, it's going to go through the publishing companies, that somebody's going to be paid to disperse all of this money, because paying out 500,000 checks of $3,000, that's, from an operational overhead point of view, that's complex. So somebody's going to be paid to do all of that. The people getting money here are going to be the lawyers. So Anthropic agreed to pay the landmark settlement last week, putting to rest a class action lawsuit from US authors that accuse the AI company of training its models on hundreds of thousands of copyrighted books. Judge Alsup let the class action lawsuit move forward after ruling that Anthropic training its models on purchased books counts as fair use. But it could be liable for training on illegally downloaded work. Okay, this makes sense because we had a judgment a couple of months ago basically saying that training on books is fair use. But the distinction being made here is if you buy the books, that's fair use. If you pirate the books, then it is not. Which makes sense because it's illegal to pirate books. And presumably they pirated these all from Anna's archive, which I'm not going to pull it up on screen because I'll probably get in trouble, but has basically all the published books available. It's the Pirate Bay for books and published material. In addition to his concerns over authors being strong-armed into signing a deal. Okay, so this is interesting. The judge is trying to protect the authors here. So I think he thinks that the class action lawyers will create a deal behind closed doors. So he thinks that the lawyers are up to something. Good man, Judge Alsup. Alsup says he needs to review more information about the claims process outlined in the settlement. I have an uneasy feeling about hangers-on with all this money on the table, Alsup said. Man, I love this guy. Under the settlement, authors and publishers would receive about $3,000 for covered works. As noted by AP, the Associated Press, an attorney for the authors said there would be about 465,000 books that would be covered by the settlement, but Judge Alsup asked for a solid number to ensure Anthropic doesn't get hit with other lawsuits coming out of the woodwork. That's fair. So in the settlement at the moment, it is $3,000 per book, but they haven't submitted a final list. So they said, oh, we think it's about this amount, but we we're going to continue to submit the works that we think fall under this, which could leave it open and it would become a kind of almost a full-time industry to find books in the training data of Claude and somehow prove that and then get paid $3,000 for each. I could imagine that becoming a cottage industry. He added that class members will need to be given very good notice to make sure they're aware of the case. Maria Palante, CEO of the Association of American Publishers, an industry group backing the author's lawsuit, told AP that Allsup demonstrated a lack of understanding of how the publishing industry works. Palante said that class actions are supposed to resolve cases, not create new disputes, and certainly not between the class members who were harmed in the first place. Fair. The author's attorney, Justin Nelson, said in a statement to Bloomberg Law that the lawyers care deeply that every single proper claim gets compensation. Of course you do, Justin, because you get paid for each one that goes through. Judge Allsup will revisit the settlement during another hearing on September the 25th. We'll see if I can hold my nose and approve it, Allsup said, according to the AP. Okay, you are my favourite judge now. Very cool. So interesting to see that unravelling. I agree that if this is going to go ahead, then we want to make sure that the authors actually get paid out rather than all of this money just ending up in the class action lawsuit lawyers' pockets, or even with the publishers. We need to make sure it gets down to the authors, and it sounds like the judge is uncertain that will happen, and so he's putting it on hold. Good, that's probably the best possible reason to put this on hold, so I'm 100% with him here. And it'd be interesting to see how this unravels. Awesome. We are about at an hour, so I'm going to wrap up for now. A couple of quick things. All of these videos are available on YouTube, so you'll find the edited, cleaned up versions there, as well as a newsletter which comes out every single day, which will point you towards videos and has a written summary of everything that we have covered. It's just an easier way to access the information. You can find that in the link in my bio. It's free to sign up, and that will keep you updated with what on earth is going on in the world of AI. I am building an app in public. The idea is over 30 days to build something from scratch using artificial intelligence and to launch it and to generate money by the end of the 30 days. And I am sticking to 1 hour per day instead of grinding it out for 6 to 8 hours, which I really want to do. Sticking to 1 hour a day to show you guys at home that this is something that you can do as well. So I'm going to be continuing to build. If you want, jump over to that, and the recordings of that are also going to be available on YouTube as well. So make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and the newsletter. Cool. Thank you guys.